Hello, you're welcome back to Baby Lawyer, where I dive into the fascinating realm of law and everything related to it. If you are joining this channel for the first time, you're welcome. And do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification button so you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. On today's vlog, I'll be delving deep on vicarious liability. Vicarious liability is a legal doctrine that holds one party responsible for the actions or inactions of another party, depending on the type of relationship between the two parties. Vicarious liability is usually applicable in contracts of employment most time. Common situation of vicarious liability. 1. Employer-employee. This is the most common scenario of vicarious liability, where an employer can be held liable for the wrongs committed by an employee while carrying out their job duties. Before an employer can be held liable for the actions or inactions of his employee, the employee must be working within the scope of his employment and the employee's action was intended to benefit that of the employer. Second, principal and agent relationship. The individual or entity that authorizes another to act on their behalf can be held liable for the commission or omission of the agent. In a contract of employment, the individual who authorizes another is the principal, while the individual who acts on someone's behalf is called the agent, and the principal can be held liable for the actions or inactions of the agent. For instance, in a university setting, a university, which is the principal in the contract of employment, can be held liable for the wrongs of a lecturer if he is acting within the scope of the employment. Parent and child relationship. Parents may be held liable if they fail to properly supervise their children and this action results to the child causing harm to another. Parents have the responsibility under the law to guide their children's behavior and therefore may be held responsible for their children's actions or inactions. However, parents are not automatically held vicariously for their children's actions. For instance, the parents of an older minor, that is minor from age 13 to 18, can be held accountable for the reckless actions of their children because the law believes that children within this age range are not ignorant of what they are doing. Guiding principle of vicarious liability. The guiding principle of vicarious liability can also be referred to the importance of vicarious liability. Number 1. Careful hiring and training. By holding employers liable for their employees' action, the law encourages organizations to hire carefully, train effectively, and implement safety measures. Second, victim protection. Vicarious liability helps to ensure that victims are being compensated. If only the employee were liable, it might be difficult for victims to recover damages, especially if the employee is not financially buoyant. Third, it also encourages compliance to law. Organizations are likely to adhere more closely to laws and regulations when they know that they could be held liable for their employees' non-compliance and therefore they comply to the rules and regulations guiding the conduct of their work or job. Defenses against vicarious liability. Defenses are legal arguments that an employer or principal can use to avoid being responsible for the actions of their employees or agents. And defenses against vicarious liability include 1. Independent contractor defense. If the individual who caused the harm is classified as an independent contractor rather than an employee, the employer may not be vicariously liable because independent contractors operate their own businesses and are not under the direct rule of the employer. Second, scope of employment. Vicarious liability applies only to action taken within the scope of employment. If an employee was acting outside the scope of their employment when the incident happened, for example, if the employee was running personal errand, the employer may not be held liable. Third, intentional thoughts. Employers are not liable for intentional thoughts committed by employees unless the thought was made in connection to the employment. For example, if an employee assaults someone out of hatred rather than in connection with their job, the employer may not be held liable. Employee misconduct. If an employee violates company policy in a way that leads to harm, the employer might not be held liable for the action because the employee acted contrary to the established rules or protocols. Thank you for staying by. That will be all on today's vlog. Anticipate my next video and do not forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. And remember, this channel is fun, educating and legal. Bye.